The title of this podcast is The Cost of Not Letting Events Pass Through You. This is a good one. I think of all of the things that I have done to really cultivate inner peace. One of the most important is learning the skill and the ability and the importance of letting things and events pass right through me. So I'm going to share just a few examples of this. One of them happened when I was 14 years old. I was in Spanish class, freshman year, with someone who over the summer that I had a crush on. I thought we had a mutual crush. She was actually the first person that I had my first kiss with. And I came into, the summer was over. We'd gone to different schools the year before. And so when I got into Spanish class, I was delighted to see her in my class. And apparently she didn't feel the same way. So from that point on, she said really mean things to me, one of which was, Keith, she was telling this other girl and anyone who was listening about how thick my lips were. And I took that to mean that I was unattractive, I wasn't good enough, and all those things. And this was a comment made by a teenager, and I took it to and internalized it. I did not let that event pass through me. Instead, what I did was I began to behave very differently than I had before. For example, I would never smile in pictures anymore, really self-conscious about my lips. If you see any pictures of me between the age of 14 and 37, that's a long time, there are no pictures of me smiling. If you see, the pictures would be me like this or like that. I was trying to hide my lips because of that. I did not let the event pass through me, but it didn't stop there. I would spend time before going out in the mirror trying to practice how I would say my name when people introduced themselves to me so that my lips wouldn't, be noticed. How can they not be noticed? I have thick lips, but I'm proud of them now because of the work that I've done. But the point is, for 23 years, I did not do that. I internalized that, and it really became a limitation, a barrier for me living life and being with other people. When they would talk to me, I'd be thinking about them watching my lips, how I was going to say my name. Hi, my name is Keith. Trying to put my, tuck my lips back in to tuck them away. I wouldn't hear a word of what they were saying because I was too much in my head. And this is what's the cost for all those years of meeting people, especially for the first time, of just being subconscious of my lips for something that happened at age 14 that I didn't let pass through me. Another example, and there have been several along the way after that, I'm sure, but another one that stuck out was something that had happened just a few summers ago. I was involved in a program, a great program for high school students, and it was a pathway program for them to really try on or be introduced to the discipline, the different occupations in healthcare, in case that was a direction that they want to take their lives and embark on a career. And at the end of each of the 4-week program, we were doing a graduation. And at the graduation, we were shaking hands as the young people came up, and we were giving them a stethoscope. There was a new member to our team who came maybe a month earlier. She hadn't been there in the previous years of the program, but she was kind, she was nice, everything that you could think of that you want to be involved in a program like this. And so I and myself and another person was handing out the stethoscopes, and somebody else was handing the diplomas or the graduation certificates. And what I was doing was I was taking the stethoscope, opening it up, and putting it around their neck, right? So they could wear it like a physician wears it. And I didn't notice this, but apparently I was like, the stethoscopes were so tight that when I placed them around the student's neck, it was, causing some discomfort. I mean, I was almost choking them out. And this person who was new to the team, she couldn't have been kinder. Her name was Maria. She could not have been kinder. And when I did it once again, she took the stethoscope away from the child's neck and she, draped it across their shoulders, around their neck, across their shoulders. So it's both ends were hanging and it's not squeezing the life out of them. And I remember feeling like embarrassed that she'd done this because I had apparently done it wrong. And I internalized that. And through the next hour of that graduation, I wasn't present. Like Maria just became an enemy to me, and she could not have been nicer. And thankfully, I have a well-being practice because I was able to eventually let that go. And Maria and I work so well together. When I say kind, caring about children, the community, her colleagues, the work that we do, couldn't ask for a better partner. She's amazing. But here I am letting one event that didn't pass through me. I fixated on it and created a problem of Maria and the whole event. And I missed out on a pretty amazing graduation of those 20 students. Another event happened also that is, I was working with my colleague, Paul. This was about a year ago, year and a half ago, and we were tasked with creating a draft of what the organizational chart would be for a new office, the Office of Joy and Wellbeing. And we weren't giving a lot of direction by two of the leaders on how to create it, but to just do our best effort at it. The senior leader who's in charge of, who is our chair, was not at the meeting. But, so we began to go to work on it, spend hours, hours on this over a 2-week period. And finally, the day came to where we were going to share our draft. And when we shared the draft, the senior leader, who was not present for the first meeting, and again, we didn't get a lot of direction, that senior leader said, did you guys hear anything that we said? This is ridiculous. This is awful. Like, I don't think you guys were listening. I immediately internalized that as we didn't do a good job. I think from the comments, you can see how I may have walked away with that conclusion. But we didn't do a good job, that we weren't up for the task, that we had failed. And my colleague, Paul, was in the same meeting, and he's just taking notes. Thank you for the feedback, Dr. So-and-so. Thank you for the feedback, this senior leader. And that was it. And he was able to continue to take notes, be present at the meeting, offer feedback, get more direction. After the meeting, I called Paul. I said, Paul, how did you do that? Or were you like, wasn't that comment off-putting and just totally not, characteristic of a Mayo Clinic leader? And he's like, oh, Keith, I didn't take it that way at all. It's like, what do you mean? He's like, Keith, whenever you do something, especially here at Mayo Clinic, you just know that your first couple of tries of it, the first time, this is a first of 100 drafts before you get to the final version. And so I just let all that go and just, sift through the tone and through certain language that's been spoken. And I just take from it what's useful. And I was like, wow, that's a guy who knows how to let things pass through him. And so thankfully, that event that happened a year and a half ago has served me very, very well to let things pass through me. Somebody doesn't say good morning to me. Somebody doesn't like an idea that I have. Somebody says they're going to do something that they don't. It's all good. Just let it pass right through me. Because what is the cost of not doing so? Suffering. And it also means that you won't be available and useful in meetings, interactions that are taking place in the present moment. And so that's what happened throughout my 23 years. Whenever I was with people for the first time after the comments about my lips, I wasn't present for any of that. That's the same thing that happened at the graduation. I lost an hour of the graduation and then a few more subsequent interactions with Maria because I didn't let that pass through me. And she did nothing wrong. She probably saved a child's life. And then finally with Paul, I'm now useful in meetings because he showed me a great example of letting things pass through you. So I invite you to do the same thing in your life. When a comment is made or a situation occurs, an event happens, it's in the past. The word has happened, occurred. Comment said, past tense. Nothing you can do to change it. Let it go. Don't store that inside because the cost is too great. It costs you the present moment. And before you know it, if you let those stack up, it will cost you your life.